Hello there everyone, welcome back to the series. In this video we are going to implement attribute based access control in the Hyperledger Fabric. When we talk about the attributes, what exactly it means, so how we can control the access depending on the attributes. Let's assume that we have some special departments, financial department, who have some authority to do some operations like getting all the data from the blockchain. So in that case, all users should not have access to that particular method in the smart contract. So what we can do, we can define some attributes in their certificates while enrolling and registering, and later on those attributes, depending on that attributes, so we'll define a logic in the smart contract where if user is authorized to perform that operation, that financial operation, like getting all the assets from the blockchain, in that case we will check if the client identity have some specific attributes. If he do not have, then we can just throw error from the smart contract layer as well. So there are some changes needed in our networks, so let's jump into the VS Code. So the first change would be required at the chain code layer, and the second change would be required at the API layer. So the API layer change would be associated with the registering and enrolling the certificate authority, and the change in the smart contract layer, we have to add one additional package, that is the CID, which is available at line number 14. We can see here github.com/hyperledger/fabric chaincode go/package/CID. This package, first of all, we have to import here in the fabric.go in our smart contract. And CID means nothing but the client's identity. Once we import this package, the most important thing in deploy chaincode.sh file, there is one method, peer setup. So we have to run this peer setup command, this method, because this will import all the necessary packages. So just now we have added this package here, so we have to download that package so that it will get added into this vendor. So just comment the lower part of the deploy chaincode.sh file and run only the uncommented method, that is peer setup. Now we can do here deploy chaincode.sh and we can run this method, so it will download all the necessary dependencies in the vendor folder. Now here we can see, as per the path github.com, here we are having this path github.com/hyperledger/fabric chaincode go/packages, and there is one package, that is the CID. So we will be using this package. So make sure that you have run this peer setup command successfully, and just comment this, because whenever we add any dependency, it is mandatory to run this command for downloading those dependencies in the vendor folder. Now we can uncomment this part. So coming back to the smart contract, we have imported this and downloaded as well. So next part is writing the restricted method. So I have created the restricted method here. We can see, just go to the restricted method. So this restricted method will only authorized user will be able to perform this operation. This is the restricted, in the restricted method I have written some logic. Let's jump into the restricted method. I will show you what exactly I have written inside the restricted method. CID, that is the client identity. There are a lot of methods here. First one is the ID. We can get the ID from the certificate, like using cid.getID, and we have to provide the stub, that is actually API stub. It would be API stub here. We have, fine. And these are the different methods. The second one is the MSP ID, getting the MSP ID, cid.get MSP ID. Third one is getting the value from the attributes. So we will be using this method, cid.get attribute value, and we have to provide the attributes. So I will let you know how to define the attributes at the time of enrollment. And next one is the certificate. Even we can get a certificate at the chain code who has done the transactions. cid.get ex509 certificate. Yeah, so we will be, as I mentioned here, we will be using this method cid.get attribute value. While enrolling, we will define some attributes like key value pair, and there we can define. So in our case, in our case we are going to define a role, and whoever has the role as an approver will be able to access this method. Here I have written the logic. First of all, I am getting get attribute value role, that is the key. So we will get the value. So that value would be the approver. So while enrolling and registering the user, I will show you how we can define these attributes, key and value, that is role and approver. So here we are getting the attribute value. If we get any error, so here we are just sending sim.error. We are getting the error while retrieving the attributes from the CID. Next one is not okay. It means that client identity do not have that attribute with a key role. Third one, we are checking the value. If value is anything other than the approver, then we are just returning the error that only user with a role as a approver have access to this method. And in case if user is authorized, user have that attribute as a approver, then we are just returning the data for that key. So here in this method we are getting one key. For that key we are returning the asset value. That's it, nothing more than that. But as per your implementation, you can do your you can apply your own business logic and restrict method accordingly. Probably in your case it could be something different than this, but just for the example I am implementing the attribute here, and if user is having the attribute as an approver, then only we are returning the asset for that key. So we are getting one argument here. That argument would be the key of the asset, and we will fetch that asset by calling this method. If user have these attributes approver, then only he will be able to get data, otherwise he will get error. This is the small method we have added in the chain code layer. The next one, first of all we will run our network. That is actually required. Currently I am in home repo. You can see here. The first thing, we have to run our all the services. Go to the artifacts, docker compose up in detached mode. It will run all the services in our network. So next task would be the creating the channel and joining all the pair into the channel. And after that we will install, instantiate, approve the chain code, that is deploy chain, inside the deploy chaincode.sh file all things are mentioned. In most of the previous video I have covered this part, so probably now we are used to this. Go to back and here create channel.sh, just creating the channel and joining all the pair into the channel, updating the anchor pair. Yeah, we have done that. Next one is the deploy chaincode.sh. So deploy chaincode.sh is doing all the chain code related stuff. So on the terminal as well we can see lot of things going to happen here. First of all, it will package the chain code. Later it will install the chain code on the all the endorsing pair. Once the chain code is installed, you can see here. Yeah, first one is packaging chain code, installing chain code, query install chain code, approve for organizations, checking the commit readiness. Actually we have to check approved for all the organization. As per the endorsement policy, we did not provide explicitly any endorsement policy, so by default endorsement policy is majority of the organizations. In our case both organizations should endorse the transaction. So for that we are checking approval for organization in both cases, for organization 1 and organization 2. And for later on we have to commit the chain code definition, query committed, and the last step, second step is the chain code invoke initialization. That is kind of instantiation of the chain code, and later on we can invoke and query the chain code. So we can see here it's still going on. My PC is little slower, that's why probably it's taking little more time compared to others. In your case it would be little faster. Yeah, so we have done all these things. Yeah, so next one we have to run our server. Go to cd API 1.4 nodemon app.js. Yeah, our server is also running. Now let's enroll some user. So first user we will be enrolling, and the username is the Sushil. So without any attribute specifying, we will enroll this user. Just register this. We will get a token, and this user will get enrolled in our blockchain network. We can see this, we got this token. Copy, and let's see if this user is authorized to perform that operations. So for that, first of all we have to add some car so that we can get a car for that key. That method which I have already mentioned, restricted method, it's taking one argument, that is the car key. So for that we have to add some car into the network. So I'm adding here. So we'll get error because yeah, so we are adding here. So for the authorizations, whatever the tokens we just got, we'll add here, and later we'll trigger the transaction. Yeah, we have added this. So for the Sushil we can see the certificate now, but before that we have added this car, and let's see if we have access. So I have already added that ABAC, that is attribute based access control. So just we are querying, and the most important thing, we are sending function as a restricted method here. Supercar 3, if we have added supercar 3 only. Yeah, we have added supercar 3 only in attribute based access control. That is one of the API. So just we are querying that. Now we should get a error. Yeah, only user with the role as approval have access to this method. So this user do not have any role right now. Let's enroll a other user with that role. Now I will add Pavan as a user. So before that we have to do some changes in our API. Let's jump into the VS Code. Let me close all the folder. Yeah, so in API.1.4 there is one helper.js. Right now what we are doing, whenever we are registering user, here you can see CA client.register, we are not defining any attributes. So the user just enroll before some time, that is Sushil. We have not added in that, we have not added any attribute here. So right now what we will do, we will add some attributes for the new user. So I will enroll Pavan as a new user, and here we are defining some attributes. So I have already added that part and commented so that we can do it fast. You can see here, while registering user, what I am doing, I am defining the attributes. That attributes would be key value pair, name is the role, and value is the approver. Cert is true. In this way we can add the attributes while registering the user. This is the first step, and the second step, while enrolling the user as well, we have to add that part. So at the line number 75 you can see we did not add any attribute here. So just comment this part and comment upper parts, where I have already mentioned that role attribute required, name is the role, and the optional is the file. It's not optional parameter, it's a compulsory parameter. So while enrolling, we have to provide the only required attribute names, that is the key, and while registering we have to provide the name value, that is the key value. Yeah, so I have saved this and I will restart the server. Yeah, our server is already restarted again because I have started with the Node. In case if you are running your server with Node, make sure that stop the server and restart it. Node1 app.js. I have started my server again. So in this way, just we have implemented adding attributes. So by default I have added here attributes. So let's enroll a new user first. This is the user pavan, and we are going to enroll this user. I am just hitting send button, so this user will get enrolled. Yeah, this user is also got enrolled. Now we will use this token, and as per our new implementation in the chain code and the API, we should this user should access that restricted method. Let's jump into the restricted method and just provide authorized token here. Yeah, so in this for this user we should get the data for the supercar 3 without this error. Let's hit to the send button. Let's hit send button. Yeah, we got this data for that user. So in this way we can implement attribute based access control. As per your use case, it could be a different business logic, but the implementation would be almost same. Yeah, so the next part is actually where these attributes get added into the certificate. We will see that part. And another one thing I want to mention here, so you have to make API in a correct way. I mean, you should not do like this, means comment this part, uncomment this part. So you can probably expose some other special methods where you can define some attributes. You can define some attributes like getting from the UI or maybe Postman, so that while enrolling. Yeah, so coming to the crypto material and the identities. So right now, so first we will check for this user Sushil. So we'll check the signing his certificate actually. Yeah, this is the certificate for Sushil. At end, Control C, and I will formatting this certificate. Control H, find all, this enter. So just formatted this certificate so that we can read it properly. There is one folder. I just created a sample folder, certificate folder. Here I will create a new file, sushil.pem. Okay, here I am pasting his certificate. Save. And another one thing, for the pavan, user pavan, again we will do the same thing, and we will check the differences where exactly these attributes get added into the certificate. The end, Control H /n, find all, enter. Next one, we will add the certificate for pavan as well here. New file, save. Correct. Okay, go to the search pwd. So we can see the certificate in terminal so that we can see most of the things. Copy, new. Yeah, so we have two certificate file here, pavan and Sushil. First we will check for the Sushil. So for opening the readable certificate, we have one command, open SSL ex509 in Sushil, and we want in readable format text. Here we can see in the attributes form affiliation enrollment ID is a secret, and we don't have any attribute here for the social user. And let's check for the Pavan user. Yeah, here we can see here we have a role here, additional attribute is there for role as an approver for this Pavan user. In this way we can validate which user have which permissions, and as per the role, as per the attribute, we can control the access of the user at the chaincode level. And there are a lot of other information as well in the certificate, so I am going to cover how generally certificate get validated in Hyperledger Fabric or in any other terms. So we will be following that X509 standard certificate, and let's see how it get validated probably in the upcoming video. In this way we can implement attribute based access control in Hyperledger Fabric. In case while implementing this, if you are facing any issue, just let me know in the comment section. I would love to help you. In case if you are enjoying this video, just like this video and subscribe this channel. That's it for this video. Stay tuned for the more update.